Things that are wrong here right away are my paper size is way too small. This gray rectangle here, that's the page boundary that I'm printing on. So we'll need to fix that. Here's how you go into page setup from the sheet layer menu. The difference between going into it here rather than somewhere else is that the way I'm about to show you will only affect the sheet layer that you're working in. So that means you can have multiple different sizes of page in your Vectorworks file if you have a more complex file, and that's sometimes useful. If you wanted to change it globally so that every sheet layer and design layer that you create is the same different size, click File, and you can go to Page Setup here. It's going to give you the same menu no matter what. The way I want to do it is go to Navigation Palette, and from the Sheet Layers tab I have here, I'm going to right-click on the sheet layer that I'm changing and say Edit, and that gets me back to this window again, and I can click Page Setup here. From the Page Setup window, I want to go into Printer Setup. And then here's my sort of pretty typical paper size drop-down menu. I'm on tabloid now, that's not big enough. What is big enough? I bet that Arch D is gonna work. I'm gonna select it and find out. Arch D, say OK. Find out if it works. Say OK again and OK again. And my page boundary changed. Oh, but it's still not big enough. So now I have a choice to make. I'm going to drag my viewport around. It just behaves as one object now. I can drag the whole thing around. Is that going to work? Maybe. I don't need all this stuff down below the page boundary, probably. But since I know I want to leave some room for my front of house positions, which I haven't put on the page yet, I'm going to make it a little bit different. I'm going to look at what if I made it Arch E, the next size up. So going back again to here, Arch E, OK, OK, OK. That's better. I like that. That's a really big piece of paper. It's 4 feet across. The other option is to go down to 1/4 inch scale with everything, and you can fit it on a smaller page. Let's just be extravagant here and use Arch E size. Okay, so then I dragged my viewport so that it's nice and centered on the page boundary again. Looking good. Maybe I'll do a little bit higher. Whoops, off center. Let's fix that. Zoom in a little. So I'm holding down Shift so that I snap to a vertical, so I know I'm moving it exactly vertically. There, that looks good. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same process over again for the front of house positions. From the navigation palette, I'll go to Design Layers tab and double-click my rep plot layer to get back to it. And then I'm going to do the same thing to viewport my 1 and 2 cove positions. So I'm going to do Cove 1 first, go to the View menu, with my rectangle selected, create viewport. I'm going to name it Cove 1. I want it to be created on the same layer that I had before, so yes, my sheet layer 2 rep plot. I want to again fix the scale to be 1 to 24 and say OK. And there it is. It's in the wrong place. I'm going to move it. So what happens now is it's not going to be in scale anymore. All we have to do is tell people about that using a note. And you know what? Let's make it actually should be centered. This fixture should be on the center line. There we go. So I'm gonna move it somewhere where like the label here doesn't get obstructed, but where I still have space to, too far. Where I still have space to fit the second cove position below it. I'm having trouble dragging my mouse today. I'm gonna use the move command and just move it a little bit. And here's a good chance to tell you something. Your sheet layers are always 1-to-1 scale. So if I'm in a design layer and it's in 1/2-inch scale and I move something 1 foot on the page, it's only gonna move it 1/2 inch on the printed page. Whereas since I'm in 1-to-1 scale on my sheet layer, if I move something 1 foot here, it's gonna move it way up the page because it's in full life scale. So instead I have to think about how far I want to move it on the printed page, so it's more like maybe, I don't know, 2 inches up. Yes, that could work. You can see my label, everything's good. All right, so I'm going to do that again for my second cove. So back to the rep plot layer, double click, get my rectangle tool. I might have botched that one. Try again, delete. Make it nice and big. There's nothing wrong in this case with making it a little extra big. With that selected, go to View, create viewport. Call it another thing like Cove 2. Fix my scale. Say OK. There it is. And I'm gonna hover until it's highlighted and drag it. And let's see, I need to snap this center fixture to center line again. Zoom, snap, there we go. And get it somewhere where it won't be obstructed by anything else. So maybe, maybe there? It goes better before. So what I'm running into now is that this little arch, this is like the railing of the orchestra pit on the template. That's kind of getting in my way. So I'm going to go back and see if I can get rid of it. Back to my rep plot layer. You know what? Those aren't necessary at all. I'm just going to select them and delete them. And here's a neat thing about the viewports. Viewports are always watching for changes. You know what? I'm also going to delete whatever this dashed line is. Don't need that either. So since viewports are always looking for changes, they will update your sheet layer for you if you make changes in the design layer. So if I go back to my sheet layer now, I don't have to viewport it all over again. That change just shows up, right? So that's really nice. Okay, now, here's another thing. So look how I have a drawing label here on all my viewports. I just forgot to eliminate the default setting in the viewport creation window, which automatically creates one of these. So in order to get rid of these extra labels I don't need, I'm just going to hover until it's highlighted, this viewport, and double click on the viewport. And that opens this Edit Viewport Annotations window. You get this yellow boundary around the page. And if you're like me and you don't like to dock your palettes, then you might have a palette that's hiding the exit button. It's always right there in the top right corner. That's where it lives when you need to get out of this. So when you're in the Edit Annotations window, you can select that drawing label. It's not selectable until you get here. Select it, delete it, exit. I'll do it again for this one. Double click, select, delete, exit. Probably this one has one too. Yeah, there it is. We're not using this kind of drawing label. We're going to do something fancier later on. Delete, exit. Okay. So there's my light plot as would look on the printed page. And now I just need to do some notes.